Welcome to the Next Level Podcast with Brian Daniels. Boom shakalaka.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Next Level Podcast. I am your host, Brian Daniels, in this episode. And joining me, I've got my guy all the way over across the pond in the UK, Andrew Denman. What's going on, Andrew?
Hi, Brian. Happy to be here. I'm doing okay, thanks. Hope you are too.
Good. Yeah, absolutely, man. Absolutely. It's good to do another episode with you here on the Next Level Podcast. And then joining us here in my home state where I'm at in Indiana, JBS Bryce Andrew. What's up, Bryce?
What's happening? Just glad to be back on another episode, man.
Yeah. Very interesting episode. I don't think the three of us have done an episode together before. Like,
I don't think so. Yeah.
This is an interesting little pairing for the first time, I believe, on this show. And we've done now over 140 episodes of the show. This is 141, I believe. So we're
Nice.
we're already, pushing closer to 200.
Yeah,
So yeah,
I think we were right about 50 when I joined.
Yeah.
Just right under it, but
yeah.
We're still coming up with fresh ideas even now.
We're trying. It gets tough when you start getting in like triple digits. Like, what the hell are we talking about? But there's always something we can talk about. But today, we are going to be talking about what sparked our love for gaming and specifically video games. And if you haven't listened to our podcast, where we tend to talk quite a lot about video games here, is one of the many things we talk about on this show. What I want to do is before we get into our topic of discussion, I want to talk about our sponsor, SeatGeek. SeatGeek is one of the largest ticketing apps and ticketing websites you can go to, and we have partnered up with SeatGeek. They have provided us a promo code, the domain GPCE10. That's going to save you 20% off. It'll actually take you $20 off your first purchase of $50 or more using our promo code, the domain GPCE10. You can get tickets on concerts, sports events, tons of events on there. So download the SeatGeek app on Android or iOS devices today, or you can go to SeatGeek.com and use that promo code, save $20 on your first $50 or more purchase, and get those tickets. Anyway, so we're going to be talking today about how we got into gaming and what really sparked that love and that passion, if you will, for this thing that we do called play video games, right? Like this, I would say it's probably like one of our hobbies, right? At this point. Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah, I think that's a bit of an understatement, but yeah.
Yeah, I'll say it. Yeah, it's a daily routine.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I don't think a day goes by hardly
like-
for me
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
like
same
brushing
here.
my teeth.
where I'm not engaged in a game of some sort. Let me ask you guys before we kind of go into the backstory. What's everybody playing right now? What's the game or games that's really taking up your time right now? Let's go ahead and get
So
into it.
I'm dabbling in a few games at the moment.
Yeah.
So it's kind of COD is sort of in my standard rotation as a
Oh,
kind of,
wow.
and
Okay.
I know it's not the greatest, but it kind of scratches that arcade itch for me. But
Sure,
I've
yeah.
also recently picked up Eugenics, the new Eggman Macmillan roguelike.
Nice.
game.
Hell yeah. That looks good. That looks really good.
Yeah. And I also picked up the Yakuza Kiwami 3 game yesterday. So I started
Dark
that as
Ties.
well.
Yeah, Dark Ties. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
Nice. Okay. Yeah, I love the Yakuza series. That's like my favorite. I spent what was it, 2
Yeah,
years ago.
That's one I haven't tried yet.
It
Oh,
was
I recommend it. Yeah.
oh man, they're so good. 2 years ago, because Yakuza Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth was coming out like in February of like 2025 or something like that. Last year it came out, and I spent the entire year of 2024 playing through every single Yakuza game so I could catch up to the story.
Oof. Okay.
Nice.
And I beat them all.
yeah.
Like I beat them all.
Hell yeah.
Even
Did
like
you beat all of the mahjong though?
hell no. What? No. No. There's actually a guy on YouTube. God, what's his name? I think it's John Hub. It's JAHNHEB. And that year, and this is kind of what motivated me. That year, he called it Year of the Dragon, and he 100%ed every game. So if you don't know what that means like basically you don't do anything else in your entire life. Like these
Right.
games have so much depth to them. Andrew knows. Bring it up
Lots to do. Lots to do. Yeah, lots
There is,
of side
there's-
content and all that
There's
sort of stuff.
checklists, there's side stories, there's mini games, there's arcade games, there's claw machines. There's just like there's layers upon layers of stuff. You will not be bored playing a Yakuza game. I promise you that. So yeah, that's awesome. What about you, Bryce? What do you what's taking up your time right now as far as gaming goes?
There's a few different ones, but I've been doing Resident Evil 7 and through the streams on our Twitch channel. Tonight being Friday the 13th, I'm gonna do Resident Evil 8. So
Hell yeah.
I have yet to play that one. That's the only one I haven't played yet. So that'll be good. Other than that, I've been doing a little Arc Raiders, Baldur's Gate 3. I still haven't wrapped that up. I did start Death Stranding through the Luna Cloud app.
Oh, the first one.
Yeah. I've never gotten through them, so I started that up.
Cool.
Nice.
I just went and seen that Iron Lung movie, so I was like, I might as well play the game before I see the movie. So I went and bought that.
Right on.
It only took about an hour and a half to beat, though.
Yeah.
And then I've downloaded this game on Game Pass. It's called 1000 Cross Resist or X Resist. Not sure exactly. But it's just a sci-fi kind of anime style narrative based game. I heard the story was great. All the reviews were great for it. So I downloaded that.
Okay. Nice, dude.
Yeah. So, you bounce around here and there, but
By the way, I gotta call you out for something because I learned something about you last night that I had no idea.
What's up?
I gotta call you out for it. You've never owned a PlayStation, right?
No, I bought one for my son for Christmas, PS5 a couple years ago. And he stays with me and his mom. So he left the PS5 at my house for a while because he had a Series X at his mom's. So I got to play on it for a bit then, but that didn't last very long before he decided to take it to his mom's. And I've had roommates with PlayStations and that sort of thing. So I've played a few games on PlayStation here and there, but I've never actually owned one myself.
Oh my God.
Because I went right from Dreamcast to Xbox, and then Xbox, just took over.
That's wild.
360,
I don't know of many people who haven't ever not owned a Sony console. Maybe not played as much, but never to own one.
Yeah, not even a handheld.
That's wild to me. I couldn't imagine that, man. That's interesting.
Yeah, so there's a lot of games that I missed out on that were, exclusive to that, which, a lot of them have kind of crossed over now. For a while I wasn't able to play Heavy Rain and sorts of games that were only on PlayStation. And
so you never played the Uncharted series?
No.
Oh my God. This breaks my heart, man. Well, if I could go back and play, that'd be a good podcast idea. I think we should do that next. Is if we could go back and experience a game for the first time again, what would it be? We won't talk about that now. That'll be in the future episode. I'll put that down in our ideas box. For me, what I'm playing right now is a couple new recently released games for 2026. I have been kind of going through the backlog. I'm wrapping up High on Life because High on Life 2 just came out today.
Yeah.
Which, if you like Rick and Morty type humor, you'll love it.
Yeah, I never finished it, but I played it and it was hilarious. Everything
it's stupid funny. The High on Life 2 came out today as we're recording. It's the 13th of February right now. And then, but what I'm also playing is another recent released game. I don't know if anybody has heard of. I think you guys have heard. Maybe Bryce might not have heard of Suda 51.
No More Heroes, Shadows of the Damned, Killer 7, that sort of thing. Yeah,
so there's a whole saga called Kill the Past, and there's the Silver Case, and there's all the No More Heroes games, and you got Killer's Dead, Killer 7.
Did he also do Lollipop Chainsaw? Was that Suda 51?
I don't think he did Lollipop Chainsaw.
It was a Grasshopper Games title, I believe.
I think, but
it might be what it is.
But Suda 51 games are just insane, and there's a lot to them. I just love his art style. It's kind of like Kojima, like how Kojima is also another odd type of Japanese type of game. I was telling somebody last night, could you imagine if Suda and Kojima did a game together? It'd be insane. It would never end.
Yeah.
So I'm playing Romeo as a Dead Man, which dropped this week, which that has been a mind trip of a game. It's just like, yes, Suda, let's go, we're back,
Yeah.
And it's a lot of fun. It's visually pleasing, which I would expect from a Suda 51 game. The music is great. We got like 9 Inch Nails in here. There's a little bit of Linkin Park in there. Lots of different groups of music that you can hear. Lots of really great music for the boss fights too, which is really good. Huge over the top boss fights, like right off the jump, which is great. It's a fun ass game. So one I definitely recommend. And the other game that's taking up my time too, that just shadow dropped yesterday with an incredible state of play. That was probably the best Sony state of play I've seen in forever. Happened yesterday.
Oh man, I missed it. I didn't even know about it.
It was good. It was really
good. It was 10 out of 10, I think.
I'll have to queue it up later.
They announced the God of War trilogy remake, which I don't think anybody knew was going to happen. So the first 3 God of War games are getting totally remade, which that probably won't come out for like 2-3 years at that. The original voice actor of Kratos is coming back to do the voice from the Greek trilogy. If you don't know anything about God of War, so God of War first released like in the early 2000s, mid to early 2000s, and it was originally based on the Greek mythology, like Zeus and all the Greek gods, and then they redid it and brought it back with the retelling of the story in the Norse mythology with Thor and all of that. So Loki was everything else. So and they're going back to the Greek mythology, and so they shadow dropped yesterday a new God of War game called God of War Sons of Sparta, and it is a old school retro, I would say like Super Nintendo, Sega Genesis style, side-scrolling Metroidvania style of gameplay, and I am loving it. It is so good. It's only $30 American, and it's a fantastic game. Been having a lot of fun with it. I love Metroidvanias and I love God of War, and when you combine those two, it's so good. So those are a couple games that have been taking up my time right now, and that's just kind of what I've been getting into. So let's get into, now that we've kind of set that up and you guys kind of get an idea of what kind of games we play. Let's talk about where it all started, right? And how we got into our love of gaming. And I'm gonna let Andrew go first here. And Andrew, how did you discover video games, and what kind of sparked that for you?
So for me, it's a bit weird. So my first introduction to video games that is concrete in my mind is playing on somebody else's N64.
Oh wow!
So my first sort of experience in terms of game titles I can remember would have been like Mario Kart 64, Super Mario 64, in particular, the latter. So for me, I just remember, going over to this place and playing those games and just really enjoying it. And then, so I guess that's sort of what really kind of sparked it off for me. And then, I'd go over to friends' houses and they'd have PlayStation 2 and that sort of thing. And then it was probably, I want to say 2003-ish, when I got my first console, which was an Xbox. And I still remember it was an Xbox Crystal, the see-through one.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. And I remember that 3 games that came with it. One was Outrun 2, one was Burnout 3 Takedown, and the other was Sonic Heroes. So
wow. Okay.
So again, those ones in particular, Burnout and Sonic, stick in my mind. I know, in particular, Sonic Heroes wasn't considered a good title, but I really enjoyed it. Okay. So for me, that sort of the playing on the N64 was sort of what kick-started it, but then the actual continuation was when I had my first proper console at home. Yeah. And basically, I haven't looked back since. I've had at least one console from each generation since then, and not looking to stop anytime soon. All thanks because of a game that came out in the late 90s.
Nice. That's what's up. That's interesting, man. N64 was your first console. God, I feel old as fuck, man.
Yeah, well, the thing is, I can say that. I was thinking that, but I was also thinking, if I say my first console was an Xbox, that's over 20 years ago. That's that we consider somewhat old now.
Yeah.
In 2026, you know.
Right.
And then you feel even older now.
Yeah.
Anyway, when we were talking about how like Star Wars turns 50 years old next year. I'm like, no way. Are you fucking kidding me? Like, God, dude. Like, and I'm not even that old, but like, that's insane. All right, Bryce.
Yes.
How did you? What got you into video games? And
I think, yeah, I'm a huge gamer. And I feel like I've been my entire life.
Yeah.
As far back as I can remember, I remember having video games in my life. But the earliest memory I have of playing a video game, I was probably 4 years old, somewhere in that range.
Oh wow, okay.
But like playing, maybe you've seen it, maybe you haven't, but back at this hotel that my mom worked at, they had this like a table. It was like a game that looked like a table, and the screen was the tabletop. And this was back in the 80s.
Oh
so
wow.
It wasn't touchscreen or anything, but there's chairs on either side, and you'd sit there, and there's a little trackball and a couple buttons for you can play against the person sitting on the other side. I can't remember what game it was.
Yeah, that sounds familiar.
Something similar to like some top-down kind of Galaga or something like that.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, this is so cool. And that was like some cool tech back then, just built into it was out in the lobby, and I'd just sit there and play that all the time when, whenever my mom would be working, or, I'd go see her or something. But when I really got into gaming was, it's probably around that same age, maybe just a little bit older, but it was right when the NES came out at like the end of 87, I think, or whenever it was. When the NES came out, I had gotten one, or, my parents had got me the NES, and I just remember, Duck Hunt. Duck Hunt was like I was like, man, this is so cool. You can like shoot a gun at your TV screen and like, actually like reacts and, just like, and I was at a young age, I was always kind of really intrigued by electronics and how they worked. You know what I mean? Like I was just a kid that wanted to take everything apart and see what was inside to try to understand like what was going on, you know what I mean? And then put it back together so I could like feel like I knew what I was doing or something as a kid. And so video games kind of like took that, and I was able to kind of take that thing that was in me and turn it into something different with video games, because now I can, rather than trying to see how the electronics are working, I'm trying to figure out how this game works and how to complete each puzzle and, all the things that go into a video game. Now that was in play in my mind, comparing it to like exploring electronics and what's inside and how it works. And so that just kind of like grabbed my attention, and I was always just fascinated with the technology of the video games. Every generation there was something new and the graphics enhanced, and Nintendo liked to do a lot of accessories, like the gun and the glove and the mat and the running pad, and then even with the Super Nintendo they went into the Super Scope, and then they added like the controller port dock, so you could add more controllers to it and play up to 3 or 4 players on certain games. And then as it progressed, but I mean my earliest memory was that tabletop game, but then the NES and just the technology behind everything was always fascinating me. Duck Hunt was probably like and Mario, obviously, because it was like a bundle game back then. It was all in one. But so like those 2 games got me into it, and I just never stopped from there. Eventually I got a Game Boy and had like a ton of Game Boy games and all the accessories with that, the little, camera and the magnifying lens and the lamp and the case, and so it's just something that like really grabbed me up. But
nice. Nice.
Yeah. Okay. It was really, I think it was Super Nintendo though that really like I was like, this is something I'm going to do for the rest of my life. You know what I mean? Like, I'll be an old man and still be playing Mario or whatever.
Yeah.
Super Nintendo just had like so many great titles. And I mean, it was in particular when I started getting into RPG games, as I got a little bit older and I got, a little smarter and sophisticated, and getting into role-playing games like Secret of Mana and Earthbound and Final Fantasy and stuff like that. Super Mario RPG, or even on the NES, there was a couple that Zelda was kind of RPG-esque. I mean, so I that genre I fell in love with, and that will always be like my favorite style of game.
Nice, dude. Nice. That's awesome, dude. That's a great story to hear. I'll tell you this. So for me, and I figured that like you and I's stories would be a little similar. I figured Andrew being a little bit younger would be.
Yeah, I mean, we're about the same age, and
you and I are the same age.
Area.
So here's my story of how I got into gaming, and how I got how I had a spark for gaming. So how I got into gaming was we had a computer lab at our school, and we had Apple IIs at our computer lab, and this was an elementary school. And I went to a public school in Indianapolis, and we were one of the lucky schools that the city government was like, we'll let you guys have computers. And that was a big deal back then, right? Like, computers are expensive, very expensive back then, right?
Oh, yeah.
So we had computers, and so I remember playing like games like Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego, like by Broderbund.
Yeah, I remember that.
You had to put a disc in, like floppy disk games. Probably the kids probably don't know what that is today, but but these big ass discs you had to put in, and then Oregon Trail, because all the computer games were games where you learned about stuff, like
educational.
Carmen Sandiego,
Edutainment, wasn't it?
Yeah, and they were all games that were fun but yet very educational.
Or did you play Number Munchers? Remember that?
Oh yeah, Math Blaster.
Yeah, that was fun.
I mean, all of. So that was my kind of introduction to. That was my introduction to gaming. Was playing a video game. Was on the computer playing games like Oregon Trail and learning about that. While also having to manage resources, because it teaches resource management, right? All these things.
Right.
Carmen Sandiego, you're taught about cities and history and
geography,
geography. And then, of course, the Number Muncher and Math Blaster, those speak for themselves. So I was fascinated by that when I was very, very young. I was probably like 5 or 6. And then I remember telling my mom all about it. And we didn't have a computer, and I wanted a computer. And I grew up in a home where we were poverty-like home. Like, my mom was like, yeah, right, computer.
Right.
It's expensive. So I would always look forward to going to computer class at school because I knew we were going to play video games. But I didn't know it was a video game. I didn't know the word video game, right? Like, that was just, hey, can we play the game on the thing?
Right.
And we did. And so I remember telling my aunt, my Aunt Ruth, who's still around today, love her to death. She's great. I remember telling her all about this stuff. She'd come over once in a while, I'd be like, those. She's like, oh, you talking about those games? Do you know they got games you can play on your TV now at home? And I was like, what? I remember like no way, and back then you didn't have internet, so you couldn't just pull it up on your phone and show somebody something. So she had I think it was like a catalog from like, I don't know, Sears or some shit. And she was showing me the NES. And I told her I wanted that for my birthday. Well, my mom was like, there's no way in hell you're bringing video games into our home. Because my mom wanted the games to be at school. She wanted the games to be educational.
Sure.
She wanted them to, she didn't want me to have them at home. Well, too bad. Too bad, Mom, because
here comes doom.
here comes my life, right? My life is about to be handed to me. So it's my birthday. I want to say it's like 1980. Fuck, it was probably like 87 or something. I think I was like, or 89 maybe. I was like 4 or 5 years old, something like that. 5 or 6, something like that. And it's my birthday, and the NES came out in 85. So this had to be like 89 or 90, something like that. And my aunt comes over, and it's my birthday, and she's like, "Oh, I forgot something in the car. Let me go get it." And she brings this big ass box in, and I open it. I didn't just get the NES; I got the action set. So I got the zapper, the 2 controllers. I got the copy of Mario and Duck Hunt. I got all that, and I just flipped my shit. My mom was like, I'm sure my mom was pretty pissed at my aunt for that, because like my mom was like, "You're not getting in that. We can't afford it anyway." You know, my aunt had a really good paying job, so like she just bought it for me, and I plugged it up, and that was my first time playing a video game in my house on a TV.
Did your aunt have any kids of her own, or were you?
No, she had no kids.
I had an aunt like that too, where she didn't have any kids, but she would just buy me whatever I wanted every year for Christmas.
Yeah, she wanted to spoil me. So
So
she got us that, and I remember, my mom at first was pretty like nah towards it, but she started playing like Mario Bros with me because you can do 2 players. So we do 2 players of Mario, and then I remember it was just so much fun. Like my mom was like, "How can I turn this into like a reward for homework?" Because she had to tie it to something. That's
right.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
she'd be like, "Well, you know how like you like playing the games at school." Because they wouldn't let us play. They wouldn't let us go to computer lab unless we did stuff, for first, right? Like learning something. So we go to the computer lab. Yeah. We only went to the computer lab once a week. So my mom was kind of like, "All right, I'll let you play about a few times a week, but you got to do your homework and stuff, or be good in school, or whatever." So I did, and she let me play. And I remember one of the first things she got me was like, I don't know if you guys remember this. Probably Bryce would remember this more, unless Andrew, you've seen it somewhere. Back in the day, Nintendo used to come out with these little trophies that were plastic that you could buy. These little trophies, and they had characters on them. And one was Mario, and he was on the flagpole, and it had the little building behind him that he goes into at the end of each level. He runs into
the castle. Yeah,
the little castle.
Yeah,
it was a little plastic trophy, and you could write like your high score on it and your name.
Okay,
nice.
And so my mom bought one. And we would kind of like see who could win the trophy that week or something. She made it like a game.
Oh, cool.
And of course, we'd play Duck Hunt together, which was fun. And my mom wasn't a big fan of that. She didn't like the whole gun aspect. Like, I don't like the fact that like kids are having guns.
Or did you do the shoot at the light bulb to get every hit?
Oh yeah, I used to like stand right in front of the TV.
Oh.
And then my mom had accidentally figured out that you can control the ducks with the controller, because she was messing with it, like trying to like mess with me, like trying to pause it, when I would shoot. We used to do that. And then she would hit like the D-pad, and she saw that. She's like, "Oh, this will be fun." So then we would play a game where we try to fake out the other person.
Okay, cool.
And make my mom was really, really good at like making games out of stuff. So that was my introduction to gaming, but I think what really sparked the love for me, kind of like what Bryce said, I think it was when the Super Nintendo came out. Because at that point, I was a gamer. I never really played an RPG. I didn't play Zelda on the NES. I think most of the games I played on my NES were like, I played that shitty X-Men game that came out on the NES, a really bad one that's like, it's like vertical, and it just sucks ass. If you've ever seen it, it sucks. I remember playing like Kung Fu Heroes, which was a 2-player game. Top-down game, and I think I had like Batman, which was pretty tough. NES was hard. Like NES, they called me hard.
Yeah,
hard. I had Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I was a big Turtles fan. Mario 3. Those are some games. I never really got into RPGs. And sure, I loved games as a kid, but what really sparked it for me was when I had my Super Nintendo. When the graphics got better.
Mm-hmm.
And the worlds got bigger, and it wasn't just things were real linear. And so what really, I want to say, sparked my love for gaming for me was not just when I got my Super Nintendo, but when I got to play for the very first time The Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past.
Okay.
My very first RPG.
Yeah, that was great.
My very first RPG.
I love that game still, yeah.
And I still love that game. I still go back to that game and I play it every once in a while. That game will always have a place in my heart. That was my introduction to Zelda. to the Zelda games, and I knew, and like, I don't think I even knew at the time, because I got the Super Nintendo when it came out, which I think it came out in like '93 or something like that, and or '94. And I got that, and the first game I got for it was obviously Super Mario World, which was so fun, dude. Like, I loved the secret levels and the getting the key and finding all the hidden stuff. That was so fun, and that was my introduction to that form of gaming, like hidden stuff. Because like, like you get introduced to like certain aspects of games. So like for me in Mario World, that was my introduction to secret stages and unlocking certain things. Right?
Sure. Yeah.
So that was kind of fun. I mean, yeah, you had the
alternate endings to each level or whatever. Different paths you can choose.
Yeah, choosing your own path or branching out in a map, right, and things. But even Mario Bros. 3 had that though, right? It had the stage levels, but and it had the warp whistle. But
yeah, within the levels on Mario World, there would be alternate finish lines, in each stage.
Yeah,
like in the ghost houses and stuff like that.
They had the P switches as well, didn't they? Where you could revisit levels and walk over blocks that weren't there previously.
And so I remember seeing the commercials for like Zelda, and then like looking at the boxes and stuff, because we didn't have we didn't have internet. We couldn't just like go read reviews of things, and that's why gaming back then is so vastly different now, because everybody can talk about it. Everybody has
all word of mouth. Yeah.
It's all,
magazine
or you had to call those really expensive like Nintendo tip lines, didn't you?
Yeah.
Where it's $5 a minute for them to tell you. What to do.
There was a lot of blissful ignorance in the gaming industry back then, because back then it wasn't as greedy. There wasn't DLC, there wasn't microtransactions.
Yeah, the market wasn't.
Yeah, I mean, you could argue that it was greedy in the sense of arcade games being extremely tough, so that people.
Dude.
Arcade games were greedy. Yes.
Yeah, and the funny part is like when I had my NES, in between my NES and my Super Nintendo, I hadn't actually discovered arcade gaming yet. I know we hadn't talked about that here. The first arcade game I ever played, and it's my all-time favorite arcade game. I think I'm like top 20 in the world for like a score, is Galaga. I won a tournament at Arcade Expo a few years ago. I won an actual Galaga tournament, which was cool.
Cool.
I remember the first time I played that was, I know we didn't talk about our first time playing an arcade game, but my first time playing an arcade game was I was at a laundromat with my mom. It was a laundromat we would go to down the street in Indy. And laundromats had video games back then. They had arcades.
Yeah, I would play when my mom would go to the tanning bed. They had
the laundry
arcade. Yeah, so I'd be playing arcades there. Yeah,
and so I heard these noises, and when you first discover video games, the noise now, right? Like you get the oh, I know that's a video game. I know what a video game sounds like now, right? Like So I was in there, and I don't think they had an arcade machine yet. So I went in there, and it was I want to say it was it was just a regular old Galaga, not the Pac-Man combo they have now. And I was like, Mom, can I play that? And she's like, yeah, sure. So she gave me like a quarter, and I was so small I had to stand up on a little thing, and that was my first time playing an arcade game. And I think I also played my very first pinball machine that same day too. The first pinball machine I ever played was it had a Pinbot. It had an old Williams pinball machine, and that was my first time playing a pinball machine too. I thought I was so fascinated by that. I was like, "Whoa, this is super cool!" Like, I thought
a video game, but not I don't know, something different.
Mechanics behind it, and I was like you, Bryce, and I'm still that way. Like, I was always fond of like how things worked, and so when I encountered a pinball machine, I was like, "This is the coolest thing!" Like all the lights, the bumpers, and the pinball bouncing around on shit. I thought it was cool as hell, But when I first played Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past, I was so hooked, man. Like, you had the light world and the dark world, and like
you're making me want to play it now.
Yeah, and just the the going around and having to fight the dungeons. Like, I didn't know what a dungeon was until I played that game. I had no idea what that was.
Yeah, I remember being so young, like in playing games, and like not knowing what some words were, because. Well, when back then there wasn't all the voice acting and stuff. You had to read every dialogue.
Yep. Oh yeah.
And sometimes I didn't know what the words were because I was so young. It's like I didn't know for years I was playing something. I didn't know what a chasm was. They're like cross the chasm. I'm like, where the heck's the chasm? I don't know what this is. I was just a little kid, like.
Yeah. I think I used to say chasm.
Yeah, I was definitely saying chasm too until
I don't think I even knew how to pronounce a lot of the words that were in the video games. I was I was like, I think I did that same thing too. I was like, Mom, what's a chasm?
Yeah.
She started laughing. It's a chasm. I was like, what the hell is that?
Yeah, my mom eventually got me an entire Encyclopedia Britannica. It was like on sale at the grocery store, so I had every volume. So I was just like, whenever I didn't know what something was, I'm like, well, maybe it's in here.
And they say that video games aren't educational.
Yeah, right. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, like I used to tell my mom that because she did not like the fact that I was doing a bunch of killing in the game, but Mom, like, teach me like words and like.
I'm reading everything, you know what I mean?
Reading stuff. Like we had to do
especially in Zelda and that type of stuff, the RPGs.
Yeah.
There's a lot of reading.
Lots of lore, but that was my introduction to role-playing games and just, like and really going back and thinking about it, Zelda is like really not a RPG. It's light RPG.
Right.
I don't think I played my first like real RPG until I played like Morrowind or something like that, like Elder Scrolls. When I found out, okay, this is an RPG. This is an RPG.
Yeah, I think Secret of Mana was my first fall in love with RPGs.
It feels like RPG as a genre has got a very broad term now. Because, for instance, people could also say, "Oh well, Cyberpunk 2077 is an RPG because you've got skill points, you can level up, you've got gear,
dialogue choices."
It is a much broader genre now than it used to be.
Very
back in the Super Nintendo days, like you knew what you were getting. Like it was,
they're real loose with the term RPG now. It's like everything's RPG. But Zelda back then to me was one. It was one then. I guess it kind of somewhat is now, but definitely not what I.
It's like an action adventure.
Yeah.
RPG elements, I guess.
But and
you are playing the role of Link. You know, what I mean, you're playing the role of somebody else.
Yeah.
That's I guess.
And then I didn't.
Definition of it.
And then my first handheld. So this is a funny story about my first handheld. So we actually, to make a really long story short, we ended up having to go. My grandma ended up we ended up taking a trip to New York City when I was younger, and we were in I think we were in Manhattan, and I had known what a Game Boy was because we used to have this store called Woolworth back in the day. I know Bryce knows what that is. He's old enough. I think.
Oh yeah. No, we had Woolworths in the UK when I was younger. Yeah, long gone now though. Yeah.
Long gone now here, and they used to have a pretty killer gaming section, and they had that old I don't know if you guys had them over there in the UK, Andrew, but they had those old stand up Game Boy housings where they had 3 different Game Boys, and each Game Boy had a game on it you could play.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah,
and so that was my first time playing Tetris, and I had never played Tetris. And I had never even played Tetris on the NES, and it was on the NES. And I was like, oh, that's cool. And Tetris was my first puzzle game. And I was addicted to that. And I remember telling my mom, like, Mom, I want one of these. And she's like, well, it's bad enough we have one in the house. Now you want to take it with you everywhere? I was like, I remember, I can just hear her telling me that right now. You want to take it with you everywhere now? It's in the home. It stays in the home for a reason. Don't take it with you everywhere. So we were in New York City, and I was talking about how I was bored and I was fascinated by games, and I was out seeing games. And I wanted to play games, so we went into some store, and my mom saw one. She goes, "Here, I'm just gonna buy you a Game Boy." She bought me a Game Boy just to kind of shut me up about wanting to play a game while I was gone.
Right. Yeah. You're like, I'd rather be home playing my Nintendo.
Yeah, this sucks. I don't want to be
brought the Nintendo with us.
So, and again, that's another big jump because my first handheld was one that I bought myself, and it was the Nintendo 3DS, the original.
Oh my gosh, man!
The original. Well, the thing,
crazy.
Generally speaking, my focus on gaming has been, up until fairly recently, has basically been home consoles. So I've sort of went the, Xbox 360, Wii, PlayStation 4, Xbox One, PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X path, with Switch 1 and 2 as well. Just because I sort of prefer playing games, at home on my TV on a big screen. But when I heard about 3DS, I was like, oh, okay, well, this could be interesting. It's also how I played Ocarina of Time properly.
Really?
Yeah. And also, you're talking about A Link to the Past. I don't know if either of you played A Link Between Worlds, which was like the successor. Yeah, like the successor to the game, where it was. I think it was like you could go into walls and stuff, and it was like 2D sections.
Yeah, you could go into the wall and
go
between like the walls and stuff. Other to access areas. Oh yeah, I played the shit out of that. I like that one.
Yeah,
pretty fun. Yeah. My first intro to the handhelds was Game Boy, and
me too. That was my first one. I ended up getting Game Gear, and then I had a 3DS as well.
Yeah, so for me it was like we went Nintendo, and then we were a Nintendo household for a long time, and then the Genesis came out, and I was like, I want the Genesis.
Yeah, I had the Genesis too.
And then I got
the Mega Drive, got it.
Or the Mega Drive, yeah, whatever, dude.
Mega Drive is a cool name.
The UK and they're wrong everything they call over there. The bundle that I got was the one with Altered Beast. Do you guys remember they sold one with like Altered Beast? You got Altered Beast with it.
Sure. I just got the Sonic one.
You didn't get Sonic the Hedgehog.
I still have a Sonic that's its cartridge says not for resale.
So
or individual sale or whatever.
So here's the thing. The first time I ever played a Sega Genesis. First time I ever played a Sega Genesis. And I miss this. They don't do this anymore. I miss going into a store and playing a game, like a console, trying shit out right at the store. They don't do that anymore. They just, they do. They don't. I can't say anymore. They do it at Target here.
Yeah, GameStop's. Probably have one if you.
Sometimes GameStop does,
but it's not as prominent as it was. Like it used to be in the Walmart all the time in the huge electronics section.
Yeah, so I played the Genesis for the very first time at a place called at a shop called Service Merchandise here in America. And if you don't know what that place is, Service Merchandise, I don't know if you guys had a similar concept in the UK, Andrew. Not necessarily the same name or shop, but we had stores here that were called catalog stores. Did you guys have those there?
Yeah. Oh yeah, Argos. Like where you get like those big catalogs, and then you fill in a form and you say you want items, and then you would send it in and pick it up from a branch.
Yes.
Yeah.
You didn't buy directly from the store. It was like they gave you a card and like you walked around, and it was kind of like QVC. If you went into a QVC store, like a home shopping network, like the channels you watch on TV. We talked about this one time. But they give you a card, and like you walk around, you're like, oh, so what's the item number for that? And you write down, and then when you're done shopping, you take your card to the front and you check out, you pay, and then they deliver everything to you. So Service Merchandise was that type of store.
Okay.
And so I remember going in, and they had a toy section and stuff, and all the things, like even like little things, you had to like order. You couldn't just buy. It was weird. So they had a Sega Genesis. I didn't know what it was. And I remember seeing Sonic. I once again didn't know it was Sonic, what it was, but it was Sonic.
Yeah.
And I was so fascinated. I played it, and I was like, that's so damn cool. The graphics were cool and everything, the speed and the coins and stuff. And
music.
I thought the coins was kind of like, I felt like they were ripping off of Mario a little bit, with the coins, the rings or whatever. And I remember telling my mom I wanted one of those. And so she got me one. I remember being a little upset. And I always tried to be grateful as a kid. Like I didn't want to ever be like, show my mom or whoever that was mad that they didn't get the right thing. But I was a little disappointed that they got me the set with Altered Beast. They didn't get me Sonic. but Altered Beast is a cool as fuck game. So I wasn't really disappointed, but she ended up later buying me Sonic the Hedgehog. And that's how I got my love for Sega and Sonic. And we've had Tom Colinski on our show before. He's the guy who ran Sega of America when that all dropped, and it was really cool getting to tell him like, hey, like thank you for my childhood, like like thank you for helping introduce Sonic the Hedgehog to me and everybody else here in America. It was cool. But yeah, just gaming has always been special to me, and it's still a very, very big part. It will be until the day I die. I will game forever.
Yeah, I think there was a point there when I was in probably 5th grade, maybe area, and the apartments I lived in Florida, there was a clubhouse with like this big open area, and they had 2 different rooms, and one had a Super Nintendo and the other room had a Genesis.
Oh,
and every day after school, we'd all get off the bus and go to the clubhouse, and a big like Street Fighter 2 tournament would break out. Just everybody would just be gathered in the room, and that I remember going in there the first time, and that's how I discovered Street Fighter. And I was like, that's when I was like, man, this is like a whole new like area of gaming for me, like the competitive gaming. Like now gaming can be competitive with other people, you know what I mean? And that kind of drove gaming into, being what it is today with our esports and all that. But I remember seeing that and I was like, man, this is like cool. Now we can like, we've all been playing games, and by ourselves most of the time, but now we can actually like test our skills against each other. And I don't know, that made me even further, that's when I fell in love with fighting games. I was like a big fighting game player for a while, because I was like, I want to be competitive with these guys.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it was just gaming's always had a special place in my life, and it's always going to. Like, it's evolved over the years, and I think that's why I'm kind of sad with how it is now. Like, back then, back then gaming was so simple and simplistic and informed. Like, you bought the game, came home, everything you wanted was on the game, played it. You can unlock things in games. Now it's just, and I know we had said it wasn't as greedy. I mean, there was some greed there because the games were pretty expensive back then. But now it feels like they're pushing these games out and trying to pack in as much monetization as possible. And so for me, it is this entire thing of like, I don't want battle passes and season passes and microtransactions. Like, I just want
I have to be connected just to play it.
I just want a solid game that works, and not one where your mindset is about how much money can you get out of me. I think that's why I've kind of gravitated more towards like indie game developers or lower, smaller studios now, because they're in it to do that, to make good games that people want to enjoy. Like we got Clear Obscure last year, from a smaller studio, and that was insane, and it was not a expensive game by any means. But I'm glad that you guys, thanks for sharing with me, with everybody listening, your guys' stories on how you got into gaming and what sparked that love for you. And we do want to thank all of our listeners for listening to this episode of our podcast. Thank you guys so much for listening. And I want to thank Bryce and Andrew for taking the time to do this episode with me today. Appreciate you guys being here. We will be back next week with another episode of our podcast. And please let us know in the comments below if you're listening to us on Spotify, YouTube, or Good Pods, which are 3 of many places where you can listen to our show. But these 3 specifically allow you to leave comments on our episodes. Let us know kind of what got you into gaming. What was your first love of video gaming? What was the first console you played, or what was your introduction to gaming? Let us know about those down in the comments. And we want to thank all of our listeners for continuing to make our podcast a success that it is today. We continue to do this, not just for ourselves, but for you guys. And we will see you guys on the next episode. Take it easy, guys. See ya.
Peace.
Thanks, everyone.